So looking at the agenda for today, there's going to be a very brief introduction to who we are, and then we'll look at our two latest products, Aculab Cloud and Aculab Rapid. We'll see how they work, and then show you some examples and some success stories of people using these products. Just a mention on questions. If you have any questions, there's a box on the right where you can type in anything you want, and we'll get to the questions right at the end. And don't worry if your English is not too good. We have a lot of language skills in the room, so whether it's in Portuguese, Espanol, Francais, Italiano, Deutsch, and English, anything you want, type it in. So for those of you who do not know us, Aculab has been around for just over 35 years. We have a wealth in terms of experience and knowledge in telecommunications. Everything we make and everything that we provide, we make and we build and design ourselves. Now, it's a bold statement, but it helps us support our products and consult on them much easier than others in the market do. So if there's anything that we do not support, for example, it's an easier task for us to add something in, should that be the case. Apart from our original products, such as gateways and things such as SIG-trans stacks and so on, the presentation today is going to be focusing on using telephony media resources and how we have moved forward in today's world. So these telephony resource platforms come in different shapes and sizes, historically starting from boards, then taking the board resource functionality product and putting those in chassis or offering them as an HMP, a software-only platform. So we've taken that now to the next level in terms of a high-level application development platform, both on Aculab Cloud and Aculab Rapid, and that's what I'll be focusing on today. For those of you that aren't familiar with what you can do with telephony resources, these are just some very simple examples of things that you can achieve, such as DTMF clamping, playing messages, simply answering and making calls, both on fax and voice. As you can see on the slide, there are many, many, many different things you can do. So back in the day, to achieve such tasks such as IVRs and contact centers and so on, you would have to write a program using C or C++, and as you can see in the screen there, that's a snippet of a section of code necessary to just simply answer a call. So using our boards, for example, and using the C API, you can see that it's not even the full section of code to answer a call. So what we've done is we've listened to our customers, and we understand that they need to go to market much quicker and write programs in a quicker fashion. So what we've done is we've come up with some high-level application platforms. So whether it be on Python, you can see answering a call has now become a matter of a handful of lines. .NET in C#, for example, same as it is in Java as well. So you can see a lot of the headache has been taken out of the way for yourselves. So all you have to do is just call a handful of lines, and you're cracking on with a full telephony platform, instead of worrying about C programming and getting C developers in and spending more time on code that you need to. So with that in mind, we've come up with two products. As I mentioned before, we've got Aculab Cloud and Aculab Rapid. So for now, I'll be talking about Aculab Cloud. Before I move forward on that product, I just want to go through the various cloud terminologies that you may come across, because that's a word that's been thrown around quite commonly nowadays. So the first one is infrastructure as a service. So that's things like cloud hosting and cloud servers in As an example of that would be Amazon Web Services or Rackspace, something that's in the cloud that can store or run your computers in space. Next, you have platform as a service, and that's something like what we are offering. So it's our Aculab Cloud would sit in the ethos, so to say. So it's in the cloud, and it offers you telephony resources for you to build applications with. And that comes to the third tier, which is software as a service, and that's where someone like yourselves, customers, would sit. So that's where you would use our resources in the cloud to build things like call centers, IVRs, conference bridges, and so on. So to summarize what Aculab Cloud is, Aculab Cloud is it's a pay-as-you-go hosted platform where you can build various platforms on. So, for example, you can do IVRs, conference bridges, and so on. Again, it's pay-as-you-go, so it's not CapEx. It's an OpEx model, and you pay per minute for what you use when you need it. The types of things that you can achieve with it and the features that Aculab Cloud supports are things like text-to-speech, fax, live speaker detection, which also known as answering machine detection, replay and recording, and we also have SMS coming very, very soon. So Aculab Cloud offers you various ways in which you can make and receive calls, namely PSTN, SIP, and also WebRTC. The core technology behind Aculab Cloud is running on SIP, and it's our deployment-proven SIP stack, which has been around for years and being used by customers all over the world. So that's what's under the hood, so to say. So the PSTN and WebRTC input and output comes in because we have partnered with some providers which provide PSTN numbers in various countries and also PSTN rates. Now, we do not tie you in to use the PSTN providers that we recommend. So what you can do is you can tie in with you can use your own PSTN providers if you need to. So if you have cheaper rates for calling Japan, for example, you can just use our Aculab Cloud with your PSTN provider just for Japan. And for other countries, you could use our PSTN provider or different ones as well. So we don't tie you into the ones we use. Aculab Cloud is supported on both Linux and Windows, and you have a range of different APIs that you can use. So we have C#, for example, Python, Java, and the REST API as well. Now, since Aculab Cloud is telephony resources that you do not need to worry about, we have a 24/7 system that monitors and looks after the cloud system as a whole, and there's a lot of backup and resilience behind the scenes. So for you, the customer, you shouldn't really worry about things like that. You should just use Aculab Cloud for resources as and when you need it. So this slide may look a bit complicated, but it's just meant to show you where things sit. So the circle in green, which has just come up, that shows you where Aculab Cloud sits. So that's the telephony resource pool that we offer. Now, for that resource pool, there's a web portal where you can jump on your Aculab Cloud account and you can monitor and look after things that pertain to your Aculab Cloud account, such as buying numbers and so on. Then there's another element to this, and that's where the logic sits. That's where a machine sits running your application, and that too also has a management console where you can manage your services and your applications and so on. This is mainly to illustrate that there is a difference between Aculab Cloud resources and Aculab Cloud application. So there are two different elements in there, and your application server does not have to be a powerful server. It can be anything from a laptop to a very light machine running in your office, for example, because all of the resource and the heavy work, so to say, is being done by Aculab Cloud. Now, with that in mind, as you could see in the previous image, Aculab Cloud is something maintained by us, and it's sitting up in the cloud. And there are some customers who aren't ready yet for a full move to a cloud platform. So again, we've listened to our customers, and we've come up with another product, which is called Aculab Rapid. As you can see, Aculab Rapid is a server-based high-level application development platform. A lot of words in that sentence, but basically it's similar to taking the cloud technology and having it in a server. So in terms of communication, there are a couple of SIP ports on the box for SIP traffic. So that's the SIP signaling and RTP. Then we also provide up to 8 E1 or T1 interfaces. And the protocols that you've just seen come up on screen are the protocols currently supported on the box. And the box ranges from 120 to 480 channels. So you can share between the E1, T1 interfaces and also the SIP interface, the SIP resources. So you've got up to 480 channels that you can use on this box. Then we have a services port, and that's where the communication between the actual Rapid server and your application server will take place. So it's through this port that communication will take place. In addition, that's where things like SNMP traps and so on will be coming out of. So in terms of redundancy of the box, it comes with 2 hot swap power supplies. That means you can replace one of the power supplies while it's running. Comes with hot swap fans as well. So the same goes with the fans. You can replace any faulty fans while the machine is running. Then there are various USB ports and also an HDMI port should you need to perform any local configuration on the box. You do not need to do that because you can configure the box remotely via its web interface, but should you need to locally configure it, the interfaces are there for you. So a bird's eye view of how you would communicate with a Rapid box is as shown on the screen there. So looking at the box on the right, the blue block, that's your application server. So that's where the logic is sitting. That's a machine that's running the application or applications that you want to do. For example, if you wanted to have an IVR or a conferencing bridge, that's where the application would be written to tell Rapid what to do. Then on the left, the red box, that's the Rapid box. So starting from the left of that red box, you have the SIP and E1, T1 interfaces on the box. Then you have a cloud in the middle, and that's meant to replicate the same technology that's being provided in Aculab Cloud. So there are things like the TTS engine, text-to-speech, storage, and so on. Then you have the dual power supplies and the dual fans, and also the HPI interface for SNMP and so on. Now, just to mention again, for those of you who didn't understand, on the right, you've got that green box called UAS. And basically, that's the application that you download from our website or from the Rapid box, install it on a machine, and that's what is used to run your application and to talk to Rapid. So in the same fashion, this is another diagram view of where things would sit, but instead of cloud, we've now got a Rapid sitting in there. So you can see the Rapids there. You have an interface, a web portal for Rapid itself, and where you can manage media files if you want to, and you can manage the box and create users and so on. Coming into that, you can have either TDM connectivity or IP connectivity. And you also have servers in the same fashion as cloud that will be running your applications, be it on Java, C#, .NET, etc. So I'm sure you're all curious to know how it works. So let's go through a very simple example of how a call is processed. So be it on SIP or TDM, if someone calls in to your box, let's say, into your Rapid or to your cloud number, Rapid then receives that call and looks at all of the machines that are connected to it and says, okay, which application should I run? So once it finds out which machine owns the application it needs to run, that machine then comes back and tells either Cloud or Rapid to say, okay, this is the call flow you need to follow. This is what I want you to do. I want you to record this call. I want you to play a file. I want you to say this text to speech. I want you to perform a conference application, etc. So these are examples of things you might want to do in terms of application. You may notice there's a gateway calls there option. So that's another option. Instead of buying a gateway from someone, for example, you could implement a gateway style application using Rapid, for example. It's very simple to do. An outbound call works slightly different, in the fact that there is nothing telling the box or telling Cloud to which application needs to run. So you need to initiate it from your end. So there's no call hit in the box. So for that, we have web service APIs, and you would use one of the web service APIs to tell either Cloud or Rapid to make an outbound call. An example of this would be, let's say, advertising or sending out faxes to people. You might want to do that at a certain time of day. So you could write an application using the web services API to send out faxes at, say, 7 o'clock at night to various numbers. That's an example of outbound usage. So in the same fashion, once Cloud or Rapid is being told that it needs to make a call, it then goes back and makes sure that it's talking to the UAS or to the server that is running the application it needs to run. And then that server in the same fashion comes back and says, okay, this is the flow that you need to go through. This is what I want you to do. I want you to send a fax. I want you to play a file, etc. Eventually, the call is made to the end user. So looking at the screen now, that's the most simplest way of setting things up, where you have a caller, a Rapid box, and another machine running your application. So a question that might be springing to mind is, what happens if your application server goes down, or the link between the application server and Rapid goes down? The answer to that is, you can have many different servers hosted in the cloud, kept locally on your on-site, kept in a different location, that can all be talking to the same Rapid box. So should one of the application servers go down, the other two or three or four, how many ever you have, those will take over the call processing. Your next question is probably the same as mine. What happens if Rapid fails? And in the same fashion, you can add more Rapid boxes. So you can have a very spider-like setup where, should an application server fail or Rapid box fail, you haven't lost your service, because the other Rapids and other application servers will be taking the slack. Now, many of you have probably hit this problem where you buy a box with a fixed number of resources. Let's, for argument's sake, say 500 resources. You deploy that, and for 11 months of the year, those 500 resources are more than enough for handling calls. Now, for the month, let's say, of December, there are a lot more calls coming in. So instead of 500, you now have 510, 520. Now, for that extra 10 or 20, only for 1 month, it doesn't really make sense to buy another box. So for that, our API set works on both Rapid and Cloud. So that means when you write an application, that application will run on both Rapid and Cloud. So for that extra demand, just for a month or a few weeks, you can use Aculab Cloud for the overspill, and that's a pay-as-you-go format. So you have your model where you have, for the bulk of the traffic, the Rapid boxes, and for anything extra that you're not expecting, you can always just switch it onto your cloud account as and when you need it. So I'm just going to go through some simple market sectors, of scenarios where you would see our products, and go through some case studies of some customers using our products and how you could set it up. So I know in the screen there you can only see three, but there are many more, such as debt collecting. There's different ways of using our products, but I'm just going to mention a few now. So the first one is voice broadcasting. So let's assume you wanted to run a campaign where, for argument's sake, you wanted to dial a list of numbers and find out, maybe for a poll, who would be the next president, or what color they prefer, etc. So you would write a voice broadcast application that would then get a list of contacts from your database, and then it would tell Cloud or Rapid to dial out all of those contacts and play text-to-speech to them, ask them to enter their options that they want, who they think would win, etc. And you can make thousands of calls within minutes. So you can either ramp up the traffic, do it all at once. Those resources are managed by us, so you don't really worry about that. You just run the instances you need to run. An example of a customer using such a feature is BLI Messaging in the USA. They have an application that notifies parents in the US if there's a natural disaster, or if there's some reason why the kids should not come into school, for example. They have this application that dials out to all the parents and tells them not to come into school and to acknowledge the call via DTMF, so pressing a digit on the phone. This is a comment from one of the managers at BLI Messaging regarding Aculab Cloud. So another example is an IVR platform, which I'm sure almost everyone on the call would have gone through there. So basic scenario: someone dials into Aculab Cloud or Rapid. Aculab Cloud then finds which application it needs to run, so that it knows what call flow, what options to provide to the customer, etc. And should the customer opt to speak to an agent instead of going through the IVR automated process, then Aculab Cloud can put them through to an agent as well, be that on PSTN, on landline, or on SIP as well. A customer providing this is BeQuick, for example. They provide a service whereby you purchase a mobile phone and you have to activate it, or activate the card that comes with the phone, and that's all done by IVR. And if there are any issues there, that person can be put through to the agent. This is a comment from one of the architects there at BeQuick. So I'll just give you some other examples. So you can create a full contact center with something like either Aculab, Rapid, or Cloud. So you've got functionality such as call recording, connecting calls to agents. You can have predictive dialing. You can record web files. You can play prompts. You can detect DTMF entries. So you've got a lot of functionality sitting on both Rapid and on Cloud. Another commonly used scenario would be a conferencing platform, again, either on Aculab Rapid or on Aculab Cloud, or both at the same time. You also we have features such as live speaker detection, recording, etc. And another scenario would be fax broadcasting. We're very strong historically in our fax technology. So we have a customer sending out adverts, for example, via fax, and that can easily be done using Rapid or Cloud. And we support a whole range of different modems and types of faxing. So I'm sure all of you are itching to get your hands on this technology. For those of you who don't really have the means to try out Aculab Rapid right now, I did mention that the application you write on Cloud and on Rapid can be the same. So you can try out our technology for free. So if you sign up for a free developer account on Aculab Cloud, you can write an application, get a feel for how things work, and then you can just end up using Aculab Cloud if you like it, or you can purchase an Aculab Repeat box. But again, the application is exactly the same for both. So it's free. It will just take up about an hour of your time because there are so many tutorials and samples, and we're just on the other side of an email or a phone call. So we're here to help you. There's no obligation. You won't get any marketing emails. So I strongly suggest just signing up for a free developer account on our cloud website. You can either get to that website directly, so it's cloud.aculab.com, or you can go to our main website, which is aculab.com, and you can find the links through there. So the time has come to test a very, very simple application that we've written. So if you wouldn't mind grabbing your phones and dialing the number on screen, it's something that we knocked up in less than half an hour. It's a very simple application, and you'll see the types of things running in the background of this application, the features that you can use and create very, very quickly and simply. So if you wouldn't mind, please just stop here for a couple of minutes to allow everyone to dial the number on screen if you can, and see what our stuff can do. Okay, guys, thanks for trying it out. Those of you who have tried it out, those of you, if you have any issues, please let us know. But basically, if you take down this number and try it at a later point in time, if you can't try it now, just to see some very simple things that it can do. Again, it's not a fully complex application. It's just something very simple to show you what we can do. So that takes us to the final slide for questions. Now, there have been quite a few questions come in during the presentation, which we'll go through one at a time. But if you do have any questions at this point in time, please type them in the chat box, and we'll get to them in order. So there is a question. There's a question that's come in asking about if any low-level details are being passed through to, for example, with regards to TDM signaling on cloud or on Repeat, be it in that fashion. So we've, in that sense, such as sub-addresses, for example. So to answer that question, the high-level API platform that we've come up with, it's basically meant to hide certain features and parameters from a user just so that they can crack on and do things quickly. Now, we had to reach a compromise because historically we have access to all of this low-level information on our other products, and we had to reach a point where we drew a line and said, okay, these are the parameters that we support, and these are the details that you can have access to. Now, things like sub-addresses aren't currently accessible via the API, but if that's something that's crucial to your application or to you moving forward with a project, then again, as I said, all of the technology is ours. Under the hood, it's all capable of doing such things. So what I would suggest is if you can contact us with details about what the project is or how important it is to you, it might be something that we can quickly add into either of the products, Cloud or Rapid. But again, it's done on a basis where you just contact us and we'll go through the details. But currently, it's not supported. So another question that has come in has to do with prompts and recordings if they're stored on Rapid itself. The answer is yes. So the recordings and the prompts can be stored on Rapid itself, and they can be pulled off or put on Rapid via your API using the Web Services API. So you can use your application to put them on and take them off should you need to, or you can manually do that as well. So you have the option. And the same goes for Cloud as well. So Aculab, Rapid, and Cloud, the same answer goes. Myself. There's another question that has come in. Is TTS and ASR included in Rapid? Text to speech is, ASR is not. So text to speech is a feature supported on Aculab Rapid, but currently ASR is not supported on Rapid, but it's something that we're actively working on at the moment. There have been a couple of questions with regards to costs of Aculab Rapid. For that, I'm not evading the question. It's just this is coming from a technical point of view. So what I would suggest is contacting your account manager or just the main Aculab address that's on the pre-sales web address on the email address on the screen, and we'll forward it on to the relevant person. So with regards to costs and pricing and so on, just either email presales@aculab.com or email your account manager directly. There is another question that's come in with regards to the TDM protocol supported on Rapid. So someone is asking about ISAP or SS7. Currently we have a very, very strong SS7 stack in our product portfolio. Unfortunately, it has not yet been put into Aculab Rapid. But should you feel the need for using SS7, we would strongly ask that you contact us and explain how you would use it on something like Rapid, because when we came out with a product, we thought that SS7 doesn't really lend itself to something in a high-level environment in terms of API building. So because SS7 is strong in its low-level messaging and parameters and so on. So what I would suggest is if you can just contact us just to enlighten us on how you would use Rapid with something like SS7 and what parameters you would be needing to use, we'd gladly take that conversation on and look at what we can do moving forward. Questions come in with regards to SMS and when that will be supported. So SMS will be launched by the end of November, so that's the good news. It will be launched primarily for the US and the UK market initially, but we'll be rolling out additional countries very quick and fast after that. So again, it's going to be launched end of the month in the US and the UK, and it will be rolled out to the other countries very shortly after that. There has been a question come in asking about the SIP address. There has been a question come in asking about what the SIP address for Aculab Cloud is. For that, when you sign up for your developer account, you'll have all of the details with regards to the Aculab Cloud information. Again, it's free, so just sign up for the free account and you'll have all the information with tutorials and so on, including the address and other details on there. There has been a question come in with regards to conference calls and where that's established. So a conference call, for example, that resource, whether you're using Aculab Cloud or Aculab Rapid, the callers can be anywhere in the world, but the actual gluing together and conferencing functionality, that's all being done either on our cloud platform or on your Rapid box. So that's where the media resources are contained. So that's where that functionality is being done, either on the box or in the cloud. There's a question that's come in, where is Aculab Cloud hosted? So as I said before, it's a very complex and separated type of arrangement, so that should one hosting platform fail, the others kick in and look after your service that you're providing. So we look after this with lots of monitoring and host the Aculab Cloud technology on various servers around the world. Primarily, it's been hosted on Amazon Web Services, and it's replicated across the world, so in the US servers as well as in Europe. There is another question with regards to web services, and if that's an interface for Rapid or for Aculab Cloud. That's a service that's available for both. So you can use web services API for both Rapid and for our cloud platform. Another question has come in asking how you can call into cloud. So what means you can call cloud with and be called on. So you can call cloud using PSTN numbers and also via SIP directly, but you can also use WebRTC. So you can have, for example, an application on your customer's website or on your website where you want to contact a sales team or a support team directly from your browser, and that's something that our Aculab Cloud platform supports. So you can use WebRTC to communicate via your browser to an agent, for example. So someone has asked about fax. Just to remind you again, we're very strong with fax technology, and on both platforms, fax is fully supported in terms of IP and TDM communication. So that's something to take advantage of, and it's where we're very strong. So we support fax and very soon SMS while we're on the subject. So just waiting for a few more questions to come in. Another question has come in with regards to stopping and starting recordings and muting, etc. A lot of that functionality is supported on our products on Rapid and Cloud. I suggest just going through the primarily on Aculab Cloud's website. There's a section to with each programming language. So let's say C#, for example. You can go to the .NET page and you can just go through the recording APIs and see if everything in there is what you would expect to be. Another question has just come in to do with how many simultaneous calls can be run on Aculab Cloud. Aculab Cloud's architecture means that it's infinitely scalable. So it scales up and down according to the number of calls going through the platform. Basically, it means that in theory there are no limits to how many calls you can make. We again look after all of the resources, and we have different pools being hosted across the world. So if you need to make 1,000 calls tomorrow, you make 1,000 calls. If you need to make 10 calls today, you make 10 calls. We look after all of that for you. In terms of Aculab Rapid, again, the biggest size is 400 up to 480 simultaneous calls. Now, again, you can stack Rapids up. So if that's not enough, you can get 2 Rapid boxes. You can use Rapid and Cloud. You can mix and match as your needs arise. Questions come in asking if we have numbers where you can collect charges from callers, also known as revenue share. We don't currently have numbers where you can do that, but again, our Aculab Cloud platform allows you to tie in with your own providers. So you don't have to use the providers we have currently. So you can, if you have revenue share with your own provider, you can tie that into your Aculab Cloud account and do it that way, which is another good feature of Aculab Cloud. You can use your own providers, or you can mix and match depending where you're calling and who you're trying to contact. The questions come in with regards to what codecs are supported on Aculab Rapid. Currently, G711 is the only codec supported on Aculab Rapid. But again, because of our history and the amount of products that we have and features and so on, we do have many other codecs available that could be filtered through, should I say, into Aculab Rapid. So if there's any codec that you might need, it would be good if you contact us via the email address on screen or via your account manager, and we can look at ways of including other codecs. A question is coming with regards to local numbers for Aculab Cloud. Now, again, the provider we use provides local numbers in many countries around the world. So you can have services running in Greece, Japan, Nigeria, all over the world, and you can get numbers through that provider. But you can also use a provider of your choice. Now, when I say the provider we use, just for your information, it's Foxbone, and you can see what numbers we provide via Voxbone on our Aculab Cloud website. But if there's any country or local number that we don't provide, we don't tie you in, so you can use any provider of your choice in the local country. Yeah. So again, if you go to our Aculab Cloud website, all the pricing and all the numbers and so on, that's all on the website, and you can see. Okay, that seems to be it, guys. Thank you very, very much for all your questions and for your time, more importantly. I hope you enjoyed it. You do have that test number that I showed you earlier on if you want to test the platform again. But once again, it's free to sign up, so please visit our cloud website, sign up for a free account, use that email address on screen if you have any questions or any problems, and we'd just like you to try our technology out and see where we are moving forward, because we strongly feel that this is the future and how things are going. So thank you once again to everyone, and look forward to hearing from you.